Christina published recently as well some of those stats, being about 58% of those professionals earning now 70K. So these are some of the stats, but we want to discuss as well what are the benefits for everybody, not only for the individual, but also for the organizations, profession, and society itself. So personally, some of the benefits from testimonials and feedback that people give us is that increased recognition that gives individuals that credibility. It also gives you career prospects as well and opportunities as well to progress in different opportunities. And once you achieve charter status, you become part of a wider community that you could use for also networking opportunities. Organizations value this a lot because it gives organizations that credibility as well. They have members of staff with enhanced skill, and it builds their credibility towards clients and other customers. For the profession, this is really important because this supports as well the APM goal to enhance the science, the theory, and the application for the project program and the portfolio management profession. And of course, by enhancing that, projects achieve better outcomes, which means everybody in society benefit from those outcomes. And because we said we're going to look at the professional benefit and what that journey looks inside out, I'm absolutely privileged to have Abby Smith with us on the call as well, who is going to talk about that personal experience. So Abby, welcome to the call. Today, Christina had some questions that we are all wondering and we would love to ask you. So hello, Abby, how are you today?
Hi, thank you. Really well. Thanks for the opportunity to join this.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us today. Christina, I'm going to hand over to you because I know you have some questions from different prospect candidates approaching to you, and I thought it would be good if you ask Abby about that.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, Carmen. So, Abby, I've had quite a lot of people inquire, and lots of them are wondering about these particular questions. So, could you just share with us what made you want to go and achieve the chartership, or what sort of clicked in your head that made you think that, oh, this is what I want to go for, and this is what I'm going to do?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's a good question. I think it all started when I actually completed the competency framework on APM, and I sort of began to realise, actually, I've got a lot of experience. And then I thought, I really want recognition for the last sort of 20 odd years that I've been managing projects, and I kind of wanted something to show for it other than job satisfaction and promotion. I felt like I wanted something to kind of consolidate all that experience and feel like I'd sort of reached the top goal, the gold standard you mentioned before, that then became a real aim for me, and I love working in project management. So I thought that's a natural next step. And I guess at times in my career, I felt a bit overlooked, and at times kind of struggled to feel that my experience was being fully recognised. And what I felt was that being offered this opportunity, when I saw it and I applied for it in my work, it really made me feel visible and really valued, even going through the process of applying.
Yeah. So would you say that it was worth it from your experience and that you have already achieved a ChPP?
Yeah, absolutely. It was hard. I'm not going to lie. It was a lot of work, but I knew that from the start, and I was prepared to put in the work. And I think as a result of the whole process, I feel much more confident, self-belief, self-worth. And as a direct result of this, I've now taken on a mentoring role in my organisation. So I now feel like I'm able to kind of help, younger or less experienced project managers coming through. So, yeah, it's been a really good experience.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, that's really good to hear. Thank you very much, Abby. would you be able to take us through your journey of achieving the chartership? So what did it look like? What are the highlights and what are the obstacles that you have personally sort of encountered?
Yeah, I mean, it was hard, as I sort of mentioned, and it took me, from the start, I began to kind of compile a list of like all my jobs and kind of get into my head, think about what I did, because that's quite a long career, and so I was sort of going back and refreshing my memory, looking back on old notes and things. So once I'd done all of that, it was then a case of actually getting into the process itself, which starts with the written application. And I think it's, at first for me, getting used to the writing style that was required. I think that took a bit of time. But with the support of Parallel, I submitted a few drafts, and I think getting that feedback I was then able to see, okay, that's how, that's what the standard you're expecting. And it's, you're trying to say quite a lot, but within a really short word space allowance. So it's just getting used to that. I think once I was used to that, and I sort of worked on that feedback, it was much easier. And I really actually enjoyed the time and the space to review my career and to realise how much I've learned. But yeah, I did have to spend quite a long time on it, and but as long as I, allocated that and prioritised that, and sort of, I had an evening a week where it's like, that's my chartership evening, and I took a couple of weekends, so I planned ahead. So yeah, it was worth it. It did take quite a lot to get into it, and then the interview, it's just like sort of preparing for any other interview, really, and it's just about making sure that you read through all your notes and are then prepared.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much for sharing that. I hope the audiences can also find something useful here to take away in their own learning journey. So besides the competencies, besides all of the sort of academic things that you have learned through this journey, what else do you think it has helped you with? Do you think it has helped you with your leadership or anything like that? Would you be able to share a bit about that with us?
Yeah, again, I think it comes down to the confidence, element. And it's a case of, I lead a small team, and, I feel like when they come to me with questions, I feel really, not that I wasn't able to answer it before, but I feel more confident in answering them. I feel more that there's an awareness in our organisation that there's a number of us that are now chartered. And what I'm now finding, even just before this call, is that people are coming to me and saying, I'm thinking of going for chartership. Can I talk to you about it? So, there's, in our organisation, we're trying to get, everybody up to sort of APM standards. So be that PFQ or PMQ, whatever level they're at. And I think it's all of those people as well, all of those colleagues that are coming to us that are chartered. There's 7 of us. And asking for our support, and that's amazing. That's what the organisation wanted in going through this. So, and I feel the confidence of doing that, but also I'm talking to people from other teams. So there's a lot about opening up, the organisation and not working in silos. So the knock-on effect kind of keeps on going, really. So yeah, it's been very positive.
That's great. Well, thank you very much, Abby, for sharing. Thank you. Sorry, Carmen.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was just going to say thank you. It's really inspiring, and hopefully this is encouraging others to see that, yes, it is possible, and yes, it is powerful. As this session is being recorded, if you are watching the live session, please engage in the discussions. Feel free to put any questions you have to any of us in the chat, and Christina will go through all of those at the end. But if you are watching the recording and you still have some questions, feel free to send those to us in the email and the contact details that we will share with you at the end, and we will be more than happy to answer those. Yeah. And again, a final big thank you as well to Abby, because it's really brave to share the experience live with all of us. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
thank you very much, Abby. So can I just jump in for a second?
Of course.
Sorry. So I forgot to mention, sorry about this. So at the end of the live stream, we would be sharing a link where you could set up a one-to-one meeting with Carmen herself if you think that this is something you'd like to do and would need some more personalized advice and suggestions from Carmen. Would be very, very happy to arrange a slot with you. So I'll be sharing the link in the comment section at the end of the live stream. But if you're someone who's also watching a replay of this video, please also do feel free to use that link. All right, that's all that I have to say. Thank you very much, Carmen. And
Wonderful.
Thank you very much, Abby. Yeah.
Wonderful, Christina. Thank you so much. So Abby talked very briefly about the process. If anybody is curious and is wondering of taking that step, I thought it may be good as well to give you a broad overview of what the process is about. In a nutshell, it's a two-stage process. So because charter assessment looks at the evidence that you have applying the competencies in real projects and your technical understanding of those topics, the first step will entail submitting a written application. So in that written application, you will demonstrate that. And once your application has been successful, you are then invited to have an interview. So that two-stage process have different requirements depending on the route you're applying under, okay? But for all the routes, in order to be eligible, you need to be actively involved in the project profession. You also have to have enough experience in sufficiently demanding projects, and also you need to have up-to-date advanced knowledge. So one of the things that is really important for chartered professionals is to keep on working in your own professional development. So once you achieve charter status, you need to be committed to remain that continuous professional development. And the requirement is 35 hours a year. And as a matter of fact, in order to achieve ChPP, you will have to confirm that you did that in the preceding 12 months of your application, because that's really important. This is not the end of the journey. It's about being committed to keep up to date. So in terms of the different demands for the various pathways, there are 4 pathways to apply to ChPP. First one, pathway 1, is the experiential route. So this is for people that don't have any recognized assessments, so not recognized qualifications by the APM ChPP. For those individuals, you have to submit an application including project overviews and evidence against 12 of the competencies of the competency framework. And if your application is successful, your interview will be 2 hours, mainly covering your professional practice. So this is the experience you put in the application, as well as your advanced technical knowledge and your ethical practice. For people who have a recognized assessment for technical knowledge, examples of those are PPQ or some masters in project management from a number of universities. So that requires as well an application against project overviews and evidence demonstrating professional practice on 12 competencies. But your interview will be shorter. So your interview is 75 minutes, focusing on that professional practice in the application, as well as the ethics. Now, Pathway 3 is a new pathway launched last September 2024, so almost a year and a half ago. So Pathway 3 recognizes individuals who obtain APM PMQ or PMP qualification. So people applying under that pathway will submit a written application, but only on evidence against 8 of the competencies. And also the interview is shorter, so people applying under Pathway 3 will only require 1 hour interview, covering mainly your advanced technical knowledge and your ethics. Finally, professionals who obtain a qualification that is deemed recognized assessment for professional practice and technical knowledge, and the only example that comes to my mind now is RPP. They don't need to write an application, so it's just a 30 minutes interview. For all the pathways, when you submit your application, you have to put details of 2 proposers that will be acting as kind of referees, and you need to declare your commitment to the APM Code of Conduct as well as commitment to continue your CPD every year. And as I said, if anybody has any questions about the details of the process, feel free to put it in the chat or contact us. So hopefully this overview has encouraged some of you to get started. If you are wondering how practically do I go about getting started, here is the roadmap you have to follow. So the first thing you need to do is to go to the APM website and read the ChPP standard to familiarize yourself with the competencies. And there is a very useful candidate guidance as well that explains the particular demands for each of the pathways. I don't know, Christina, if we have that and we can put it in the chat, or if not, we can send it to everybody afterwards. Yes, so we'll
no problem.
Share that information with you. So once you are familiar with the different competencies and the process, you can decide which projects or programs or portfolios you think will be more suitable to provide that evidence. And there is a really useful self-assessment tool as well on the APM website that can help you. If you are unsure, that self-assessment can help you to identify which competency areas are your strongest ones. Finally, once you have done that self-assessment and you are ready to write your application, you need to know that your application will include your project overviews, so that's up to 4, your professional practice statements on the competencies that you have chosen, depending on your pathway, details of the 2 proposals, and finally, that commitment to the Code of Conduct and CPD. Now, as Avi said, it's easier saying than done. It requires quite a lot of hard work and dedication. And this is what we're here to support you on the journey. So we provide different support programs depending on your individual needs and where you really are in that process. For example, if you work with people in your organization that are all aiming towards the charter status, we provide in-house programs. We also provide individual coaching packages, and all of those contain as well material such as study guide, e-learning, and access to some of our resources to prepare for the interview. Finally, if somebody is already preparing individually on their own, we provide a self-paced guidance as well. But we are very adaptable, so it's really important that we add value to your preparation, and we always welcome people to contact us and discuss your particular circumstances. So, as I said, if you would like to benefit from our one-to-one consultation, we're going to offer some individual time slots for free. We're celebrating Charter Week, and we will be more than happy to discuss your circumstances. But in summary, APM Charter Project Professional is the gold standard. There are 4 different pathways, depending on whether you have a qualification or not, to obtain that. The process itself is a written application followed by an interview. And although it is not trivial, it is well worthwhile. So last thing for me to say is a big thank you to everybody for joining us today. And you can see on the slide there is a QR code that you can scan if you wish to obtain more information. So on that note, I will hand over to Christina in case there are any questions. So now we open the Q&A. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you very much, Carmen. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you also very much, Abby. So as you can see, I have hopefully these links do work, but I have shared some links in the comment section of both YouTube and LinkedIn, where you could have a look at the Chartered Project Professional Standard, the guidance compressed, and also there's a self-assessment tool created by the APM themselves, so you can have a look at the self-assessment tool to see whether if this is something that you're meeting right now, for you to then pursue the ChPP. I have also shared a link, and hopefully this can work, which is a link for you to book a time slot with Carmen individually, to have a quick consultation with her, of whether if it's a question that you need to ask or just general advice that you need. Please do feel free to do that. And if you cannot, for whatever reason, open these links, please do reach out to us, just so that I can resend it back to you. So, are there any questions that anyone would like to ask? Anything at all? We'd be very, very happy to help. Let's have a look.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I have a few questions, Carmen, if that's okay.
Okay, of course.
So, yeah, lots of people are actually wondering, so how does the whole process last? How much time does it normally take for someone to do the ChPP?
That is actually a good question, because the short answer is it depends where your starting point is, right? So that's the short answer. But I guess the long answer is, if you already have all the evidence consolidated, if you're already familiar with the process and you're familiar with the standard, I would probably say you could get your application written in sort of like 3-4 months. But the truth is that, people have jobs, family lives, so that sometimes may stretch up to 4, 5, 6 months. APM recently removed the assessment cycles. So before, they have a window for people to apply and work towards a deadline. And that window used to be sort of like repeat every 3-4 months. But from the 21st of January, they removed those assessment cycles, which now means that the assessment is flexible. So they process applications on a first come, first basis, which means it's entirely down to the individual to assess how much time they have to commit. But as I said, everything ready and gathered, I would probably give myself 3 months to write the application.
Okay. So what would the application process look like roughly? So how does our program can help them to go through the process? So what would our support look like?
So if we pick, for example, our public program, you will then be invited to attend a full-day webinar. And in the full-day webinar, we discuss the process in detail and the specifics for each of the pathway. We also discuss the requirements for ethics and CPD. And then we have practical workshops to support people and coach them on how to write a strong application. But we need to remember that ChPP is not an exam. It's a personal assessment. So it really is something that the professional itself needs to reflect. And as Abby was saying earlier, make sure you choose the right projects and the right competencies that are going to align better with the criteria. And this is why this first webinar is really useful, because we spend the whole day looking at examples, giving some strategies to write in the work limit, which is sometimes quite tight, all the right and wonderful things that people do to ensure there is they're choosing the information that aligns more closely with that criteria.
Yeah.
After that, people go away, digest all the information, and they send us a draft of the application.
Okay.
And we will review that a couple of times to make sure that people get feedback and comments on how they can maybe improve the application. After that, hopefully the application gets successful and the candidate is invited for the interview, and we run another workshop. But in this case, this workshop is targeted to the interview preparation. And
Yeah.
once the workshop finish, individuals will have to do some revision in their own time, and we give them the opportunity to do a one-to-one practice run. So we call it a
Yeah.
mock interview, and then we try to simulate an interview scenario to see how confident people can demonstrate that capability. So this is probably from start to an end what our program looks like.
Okay. Well, thank you, Carmen. So another thing I wanted to know is that if, for example, I'm someone who has already submitted my written assessment, my application, and it has passed, but I'm just not too sure about how to get through the interview, would that be something that you'd be able to help me to do, if that's the only thing that I need?
Absolutely, absolutely. As I said, what I discussed earlier is the full package. But if somebody already has gone through stage 1 and they're just preparing for stage 2, the interview, we can then discuss which elements of that full package they can really benefit from, and then adapt that to the individual requirements. So yes, 100%.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Carmen. So about the ChPP, so lots of people would know about it in the UK. Does it also matter outside of the UK for people who are international, for people who want to take this to, let's say, the States or Europe?
Yes, definitely. So it's a global recognition, and although it's awarded by the UK Royal Charter, lots of organizations in Europe, worldwide, organizations that have strong links with the UK professional standards will certainly recognize that as a professional excellence mark. And
Yeah.
we were very fortunate that with the launch of Pathway 3 now, giving a pathway for people who have equivalent qualifications.
Like the PMP, yeah.
That's it. Yes,
Yeah.
so that has made really strong links as well, which means it's becoming increasingly important as well for applicants coming from North America and other countries where equivalent qualifications are also recognized. So yes, definitely very powerful recognition.
Okay, that's great. That's really good to know, because I tend to remember back in the day, lots of people would only associate chartership with the UK and not necessarily applicable to let's say the United States. So that's really, really helpful to know. Thank you, Carmen. So is this something that for example, if someone's in a full-time job, is this something that they can do alongside of their full-time job? Would they need to take some to prepare? What would your suggestion be?
Yeah, again, it comes to the individual itself. Writing the application is not something I do encourage to do on and off. So I would say it's important to ring-fence, some time, like maybe a couple of hours or maybe over the weekend. It really, really depends on the person, but certainly the application will need some focus time and sometimes a number of iterations. So I think it's important to ask yourself, do I think I have the evidence? And also, do I think it's a good time? Do I have some time to commit to this? Because I think it's one of those things that once you start, it's better to not to leave it too long. Particularly now the assessments are flexible cycles. For the interview, there is a window of up to 1 year. So once you get successful results on your written submission, you have up to 1 year to sit that interview process. But as I said, it's just better to focus on that and try not to leave it too late between the moment you start writing the application and the end of that process.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's all of the questions I have to ask, and thank you very much, Carmen, for sharing. Yeah. Is there anything else that you'd like to cover in the meantime?
Not from me. Thank you very much for facilitating this session,
Okay.
and happy Charter Week.
No worries. Happy Charter Week, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. And if you have any questions, please do feel free to either email it to us on the With You All the Way email, or just reach out to Carmen and me separately directly on LinkedIn. Thank you very much, and hope you have a good day. All right.
Fantastic.
See you next time.
Goodbye.
All right. Bye.